Good morning. This is Elaine Waganka, Certified Zentangle Teacher. And today we are finishing up your first dragon tile. We're going to review just a bit and then I'm going to talk to you about shading and then how it all goes together. So if you remember from the last video, I was continuing to work on the tile and I want to point out what I did and the part that you did not see me create on the video. One of the things I did was I outlined these points to make them stand out, and I'll explain why in a little bit, but I wanted those to have a little more strength in the design. I finished out my Holoball patterns, and you can see they're going all over the place. And I filled in that background. And as far as Cubine, I actually took these points and it's a technique called redrawing the line, and so I just essentially gave it a lot of line weight, and here's that little extra bit of ink here at the edge, and then redrew this, and you'll find out why in a minute, but I wanted these elements to stand out. But basically, this tile is all over the place. There is so much to look at. Your eye really doesn't have a place to rest. And even in these spaces here, it isn't very restful. And this is one of the things that I think shading does for a piece, is that it gives you a calmer sense. So in order to do that, we're going to shade with graphite. I'm going to move this and go back to the tile. I want to introduce you to a tool that we use in Zentangle. I'll show you the tool that comes with the Zentangle kit. This is a little paper, tightly rolled piece of paper, and it's called, let me find a place to write here. It's called a tortillon. And essentially, it's just to keep your fingers from getting dirty. And if you can see, it's got a nice little point on it, so you can get into those nice little cracks and crevices. However, you can get these at art supply stores. Do not go out and buy one unless you really kind of want to add to it. They're very inexpensive. They're about 10 cents a piece. They come in packs of all different sizes. But this is what you can use instead, is you can use a Q-tip. Now, you can use your finger to move the shadows around, but this little Q-tip is just does the trick in a really nice way. So I'm going to go back to that tile and I'm going to show you how to use this. This is this short little, very portable Zentangle pencil. Basically same kind of graphite as here, but I like it short because it fits in my hand and I can manipulate it more easily. I like my shading pencil to lie flat along the paper so that I can lay that graphite on the top of the paper, and then with the tortillon or with the Q-tip, what we're going to do is we're going to push the graphite into those little dents and divots in the paper, and you're going to roll your eyes at this and go, yeah, right. But it really does make a difference when you add shading and when you use a tortillon or use a Q-tip and get the shading moved around on the paper a little bit. So how am I going to shade this? First of all, I'm going to hold this pencil on the flat side, and the first thing that just screams at me is the busyness of Holoball. So this is how I handle that. Going sideways, I'm just going to lay some, and it's just a very soft shadow. I'm going to lay some graphite on the boundaries of this, of these points. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I'll do at least two. I'm going to skip over that. I want that to show a little bit. I'll show you what I'm working on in just a second. So I take that, and I'm sure you can hardly see it, but believe me, it's there. And then I go in with the Q-tip, and in a circular motion or short strokes, I kind of move that graphite around a little bit, and all of a sudden this chaotic Holobaugh calms down. So look at the difference between this and this. This is much more pleasing. You still have the tangle, but it doesn't scream at you and compete for attention with the other tangles. And that's basically what shading does, is it refocuses your attention. So once again, that's laid on there, and then just with a circular motion, I just go here. Okay, and I'm actually kind of going over the top of this little arc here. But look at the difference between the two. So you can see that this is one way to get part of your tile calmed down a little bit. Now, crescent moon is really fun to shade. You can, again, put your pencil sideways, and you notice I'm just going in this very small little area where these lines tend to meet, kind of like where the bottom of the valleys are. And then I'm also going over the top of the arc to the tiles, or pardon me, to the pattern above it, because I'm wanting that to recede into the background. So again, it doesn't look like much, but then you take and just notice I'm barely stroking it. But what this does is the graphite is being pushed into those little divots that catch your pen. So again, look at the difference between this and this, and you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so because I want to have this arc show a little bit more, and I'm just gonna shade along the bottom of this and put a little deposit of color here, so you can just shade these great big spaces too. Now you don't want to go too crazy with shading, because you don't want an all black tile. What you're looking for is contrast. Okay, so you could leave that empty or not. But again, look at the difference between what's going on this side of the tile and what's going on here. Okay, shading Cubine. Cubine is it's like looking down into a box, and you have to be really careful with this one. Again, with the point of your pencil directing all of this movement, I'm just going to put some strokes on this vertical edge. To me, I can really see the depth going on this tile. So on this vertical edge of this pattern, and yeah, okay, it would be about there. I forgot to do that line. And the same thing here, that would be that line, and I'll add that line later. Okay, so now, okay, here. And you notice I'm not really worried about it being perfect. What I want is the illusion. Okay, now this end of the Q-tip is pretty dirty, so when I go to do Printemps, I'm actually going to flip it over. Printemps is can be shaded in two ways. I pick the larger of them, and I just put a bit of graphite at the closing end of these larger swirls, and then watch what I'm going to do with that. Yeah, there. So I'm going to take that, and from the closing end, I'm going to sweep upward and inward into that arc, but I don't want to carry the graphite all the way. Yeah, come on here. Let's tighten up a little bit. There we go. It's cooperating. Okay. So again, that makes that tail look like it settles. And then the last thing that I would do for Printemps in this case was I'm going to let these smaller ones just fall away into the background. So I'm actually going to shade over the whole unit, just the small ones. Yeah, well, maybe the medium-sized ones too. But what will happen is the ones that don't have that, don't have that shading will float above the rest of the design. Okay? Now, I'm going to pick up this Tortillon, and there really is a benefit to using a Tortillon. You can get in there and do this, but Lord, don't drive 20 miles to get one. You can order them online. And they do give you a little bit more control. Okay. And away you go. So, that being said, that one is half shaded. So I'm going to replace it with one that I did earlier. And that one is completely shaded. So you can see here I was doing a much smaller cubine here. And now I'm going to take this off and I'm going to set the whole design in place. So I've got this, this, this. Okay, so you can see what I'm driving at. You have this amazing design. I mean, you show somebody this and they're going to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. And the answer is, yes, you did do it. And you used 4 patterns: crescent moon, cubine. Oh, there's another crescent moon. And there's Printemps, and I'm missing one. But you get the idea. So now, I want to show you what actually is next. Because here's the magic of Zentangle. You can see how to do something, and yes, you can copy it and do the designs that I've done. But I want you to think outside of the box, or in this case, I want you to think outside of the circle. What if you took your design beyond those edges? What would happen? What would happen here if, in your mind, you eliminated this string and drew this whole unit as one piece? And so it looks like an M. Just the possibilities, this is the reason that I created Zentangle, created these dragon tiles, is there are so many ways to play with it. It's portable, it fits in a small bag. You need a pencil, a pen, you can take a sketchbook with you. You just do a few tangles and tiles. And just in case you've forgotten, they make the most amazing designs. Now, in subsequent videos, I'm going to take those tiles and I'm going to show you, I'll teach you some new patterns, and we'll do about 12 patterns, maybe 15, because truth be told, most tanglers have this cache of about 12 to 15 tiles or patterns that they use over and over and over again, and they just morph them into different sizes and shapes and all sorts of different ways of looking at it. And then once I've taught you the 12 to 15 patterns, then I'll introduce color and how to do that. So, love to see you. Hope you enjoyed these. If you did, give me a message. Get in touch with me, www.zendragon.net. And I hope you had a good time. Thanks. Bye.